Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel, DeFi Without Illusions, the real lesson for builders. I'm Sarah Shin, BD Associate at 1inch, and I'll be moderating today's panel. As you guys can see, we have a very impressive lineup of speakers today with us, and instead of me giving long introductions, I'd like to start by letting each of our speakers introduce themselves and share what they're currently working on.
Thanks, Sharon. So I'm Ethan. I head up business development for Threshold Network. So we're building TBTC. We have about 700 mil TBL, and I focus a lot on the Vault product side of things and then the institutional relationship side of things as well.
Hi guys, I'm Levex. I'm from XDeFi, and we are building an omni-chain liquidity synchronization layer on top of layer 0. And I was working in SushiSub on layer 0, and I'm the founder of XDeFi. Thank you so much.
What's up, everyone? I'm Francisco. I'm leading developer relation at MetaMask. And if you don't know, Consensus is the umbrella company of MetaMask, Infura, and Linea. And I'm excited to speak. I don't know how many developers are in the room, but excited to speak about DeFi today. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kevin, co-founder of BigLayer. And we have want to use some new tech like BigLayer to solve some new problems in Bitcoin space, like the utilities of BTC, the scaling problem of Bitcoin. I'm happy to share more.
All right, thank you for the introductions. It really does seem as if we have the full spectrum of DeFi right here. And with that breadth of perspectives, I'd like to start by zooming out a little. DeFi has promised open, permissionless finance. However, not everything has lived up to the hype, as you guys probably went through. And so I would like to do a quick reality check. What has DeFi actually delivered versus what was overhyped? And I'd like to snowball on top of that question and ask if you could debunk one common illusion or misconception about DeFi, what would it be? Should we start with Ethan?
We can do. Yeah, I think I'm very happy that DeFi has gone super in depth. We're very good at the stuff that we do, like lending markets, dexes, perps, etc. But I am a bit disappointed about kind of the real world application, the off-chain yield that was promised. When I started getting into crypto, I was promised, we'd have a DAO that was Uber, or we'd have anything obviously we have casinos, etc. But anything that takes real world yields and puts that on chain. And I don't think we see enough of that.
That's true. I mean, I would say that the real world adoption is definitely slow. It's not really up to par with the innovation, the speed of innovation within the DeFi scape. Levex, would you like to add on top of this?
Yeah, I remember those days when we were discussing how to call it, either OpenFi or DeFi in 2018. And the value was very clear, open to everyone, which means permissionless. But there's also other two values, trustless and decentralized. But it seems like these days users don't care too much about trustlessness or decentralization, but permissionless for sure is, I think, the key to the success of DeFi. For example, if you want to invest in a U.S. non-public company, you need to be a accredited investor. But in DeFi, anyone can invest with just your wallet only. That means a lot, and you can trade in Hyperliquid without any KYC. That's also something. So yeah, we still have a long way to go from now on, but it seems like we achieved a lot in DeFi in terms of open finance, I think.
I mean, we're building kind of permissionless rails for a long time, right? I think definitely every cycle things are improving. There is a kind of different new journey that we can expect, a new use case. But then we need to also remember that it's a very simple kind of verticals, right? Payments and lending are still kind of the main use case that are, pushing the society today, actually since a long time. I'm seeing much more kind of like, you asked for misconception a bit, I'm hearing more and more kind of like a trivial use case, like, LP rebalancing with agents. One of the kind of like misconception bit that I have is that, rebalancing liquidity pools has been around for a long time, and is achievable also with a simple kind of like script. So one misconception is that we also need to understand, if it's a wrapper of the wrapper, if it's not kind of like a positioning or branding thing. But I think the use case is very powerful, right? Because DeFi is 24/7. There is a lot of use case that we can enable, but also like we need to also understand that we having trade-off. I think the wave of understanding big yields has no consequence. It's kind of like finished. So people actually doing the extra exercise all the time, and every cycle is kind of like different, but I think we're getting there, and DeFi specifically is the biggest kind of like vertical and use case where I think top brains are around. So that's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, from my part, actually, I have long time serving in central exchange hobby and working a lot with institution clients. And I think for the users, DeFi do bring transparency, but the most important thing they need is KYC list. These bring a lot of benefit to the users, and for the misunderstanding, maybe a lot of people think DeFi will come to the institution client very soon. But from my part, there actually a long way to go because the institution client is still worrying about privacy problems. Like they don't want to expose their trading policies like they in DeFi. And also the security problems is a long way to go. So this is my take.
All right, thank you for sharing. It's clear that narratives don't really match reality. So I'd like to dig into what this actually means for the builders. As we can tell from the previous introductions by all our speakers, each of you come from a very different corner of DeFi. So I'd love to hear lessons that you've learned directly in your own areas of expertise. My first question is directed to Francesco. So MetaMask is often the first touch point for new users. From a DevRel perspective, what have you learned about guiding developers and users through the complexity of Web3?
Yeah, I think you need to kind of like build strong and resilient developer tooling, right? I mean, one thing is like the user journey that we're building, but for example, like we've been a long way. I don't know if you guys remember when we launched MetaMask Snaps, kind of like Snaps enabling kind of new extension on top, but on a fully permissionless way, meaning like a lot of like community members can actually build on top and extend. And then we have other tooling like, SDK for seedless connection. We have something called the delegation toolkit that you can start delegating and building permissions around different kind of like movement and transaction. And I think like giving this instrument is very important because you don't want to kind of like build another wrapper or build another kind of like, seedless journey. I mean, we took years to actually start to build the SSO and social logins because we actually like saw there were like a big needs on the user side. But in the same time, we can ship things fast because, like the user base is out there. You need to actually like ship things on production that works. And there is no kind of like trade-offs, right? When we remember like all the Guardian kind of like recovery system, and then the email were hacked, and people were actually like withdrawing from the wallet directly. This stuff cannot happen, right? So we need to kind of also like align with like specific Web3 value, but also like there will be trade-offs no matter what.
All right, thank you. And MetaMask, you guys are most famously known for being a wallet. So from one wallet to another wallet, LoveX, the next question is for you. As a wallet builder, what is the biggest challenge you underestimated when starting XDeFi? And what should future builders learn from that?
Actually, we are not wallet. We are liquidity synchronization layer on top of layer 0. So we're working on layer 0. We saw at that time 2 years ago, there were a lot of debates. Intent is better or routing is better or the share sequences are better. Many different opinions, but obviously Uniswap and the Cross work together to build this intent standard, and it's becoming kind of standard these days. But as a engineer, I thought like intent is really good, but there's something more. And I thought I could fill up with it with my solution. So that's why I started building XDeFi. But yeah, but anyways, sorry, what was the question?
What's the biggest challenge you underestimated when starting XDeFi?
Yeah, so all these like we support 23 chains, and all these chains have different confirmation and different settings, etc. To coordinate among these chains were like not easy, and also because we are synchronizing liquidity, it's like having no slippage, but there's also like someone needs to pay for the cost, which is in our case network of nodes are nodes, and then something like that. Like in short, around these operational things and how to, because we believe in the power of DeFi and trustless and permissionless systems. So how to build it without having any exploited points, so that like everyone is aligned, and then we believe that could be the ultimate goal of any successful DeFi protocol. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think it'd be great to shift the perspective a little and maybe hear the side of the story from the infra and the L2 side. So my next question is directed to Ethan from Threshold. Threshold works at the intersection of privacy and decentralized infra. What's the hardest trade-off you've had to make between decentralization, security, and usability?
I think for TBTC as like a wrapped Bitcoin, there's something that's not talked about a lot. Is essentially you can make like this deal with the devil with custodians, and there are several custodians out there that a lot of our competitors have actually worked with, where you can essentially allow them to mint BTC, and then you have no legal or technical claim on the underlying BTC. So you get presented these opportunities a lot of the time. So it's that commitment to trust and transparency over just hitting that huge TVL metric that has been obviously a consistent and difficult decision to make.
Okay. And Kevin, from BitLayer's perspective, Layer 2's promise scalability and lower costs, but adoption is never guaranteed. So what lessons has BitLayer learned in balancing security, performance, and adoption?
Yeah, actually, this topic has a lot to share. We have been, for myself, I have been several blockchains since in 2017, and we have we have good momentums in some blockchains, but in others, it's not doing very well. In the same time, we witnesses a very good cases like Hyperliquid in this cycle. So my take is from a new equal, there's in 2025, in this cycle, we don't have the chance to build an overall ecosystem from scratch like Ethereum or Arbitrum. We don't have that kind of chance because you cannot convince people, the user or the developers, why they come here, why this is unique, why they don't just go to Solana, BNB, and others. So our solution is build the applications from one use cases like the YBTC. As we mentioned, we want wrap the BTC in a new paradigms of big VM, and we find better yield for the liquidity providers, and around this we can connect it to a lot of partners, either chain partners and protocol partners. Then the eco grows. The similar playbook like the Hyperliquid. So my conclusion is, don't the layer 2s, layer 3s don't try to imitate or to copy the same playbook of Arbitrum. That won't work. And start from very simple use cases that help.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
I want to touch on I think like one big part will be liquidity fragmentation, right? We have it already. I'm excited about everything around Lean Ethereum roadmap, but also like all the Omni accounts that we kind of like push the abstraction on the user side, right? Because same with gas fee payments, same with kind of like, transacting between kind of like different chain need to be kind of more agnostic, right? So I think this kind of like omnicounts waves of narrative, especially the work that, for example, Public or Rhinestones are doing is very, very interesting on the infra side, yeah.
okay. Thank you so much for sharing all this. It seems as if we're hearing lessons from protocol design, wallets, DevRel, and L2s. And I'd like to tie this into what keeps coming up in 2025. The first one being security. So, security is the recurring lesson in DeFi, and recent months have reminded us of that. For example, GMX V1 lost 40 million in July this year due to a legacy logic vulnerability. And as you guys may all be aware, Bybit faced a 1.5 billion exploit earlier this year due to access control failures. And these events show that even mature protocols and exchanges aren't immune. So, given these high profile cases, what realistic ways can builders design systems that genuinely protect users? Let's start off with maybe Ethan.
Yeah, I think something super easy and we've seen a bit more of is just simple access to on-chain insurance, whether that's at like a consumer level or whether that's at the protocol level. That being said, it's never that easy because would I trust the insurers? They're actually underwriting that risk. I don't I don't know whether I fully would. So I think yeah, access to insurance, whether it's a few basis points or even 1%, could make a world of a difference to people to engage in DeFi and trust the DeFi that they're first starting to use.
And yeah, I definitely agree with you. I do see a lot more insurance solutions like popping up now, especially with like, the interest from TradFi institutions as well. Levex, would you like to add on?
I think these days all roads lead to AI. So even in our team, we are maximizing AI for coding and even BD, etc. So also for security, yeah, I'm talking about smart contract exploits, and then in this case, like AI could be really good, but unfortunately, we don't have the best model that are better than firms yet. But we'll soon see it. It's only a matter of time. At that time, these kind of exploits and security issues will be not 100%, mostly gone. That's what I believe.
I think we should investigate more like ZK for security and scalability issues. I think those vertical and those companies are kind of like under invested. So I think that's one of the big use case that I see. For example, training LLMs on a private level, starting to actually like get proofs for scalability level. So much more on this side, and I think the work around security has been around for a long time, but depends also on the use case. This is very general.
From a builder's perspective, I think there's something to do now, near future, and way far future. And now we can see most of the hacking events. They actually are due to some very naive mistakes, like they using the raw private keys instead using NPCs or the other solution to protect the private keys. And actually they make very simple mistakes. This we can do a lot on these days. And in case some bad case happens, what can we do? Actually, for now we have some solutions. At least we can protect to minimize the loss, to make it the company or the security or the community can get over, or this is small losses. And control the loss is important. So the reaction to the instance at least very important. And after this, we are still exploring the new methods to solve this problem, like some kinds of sandbox fixing. That if even though the hackers steal money, they cannot take it away right now in a very short time. So there's still leaving a times, leaving some time for the overall handling. And these need new solutions, and to only through these three steps we can persuade more institution clients to push their trading on chain. This is my thought.
I think these are all very valid solutions that we could integrate within the DeFi industry to make it more secure. Having proper safeguards is definitely very important in order to ensure that this industry is sustainable. Second topic that I would like to touch upon is the lack of adaptability. So UX, as you guys may be aware, remains a barrier. And with daunting Web3 jargons being thrown around casually, DeFi is often known to being too complex for mainstream. So from wallets to infra, what do you think is moving the needle now to simplify onboarding and make DeFi usable for a broader audience? Should we start from Levix?
Yeah, we see poly market, cars, and sports betting these days. Yeah, those were. I'm not sure prediction market is DeFi, but that could be a great starting point for the mass to crowd into crypto. And then, yeah, I see many centralized exchanges servicing staking these days, unlike before, LSTS and even like Pando, PT, YT, etc. So yeah, I think 2025 this year is the starting point or the normies retail to come into DeFi. Yeah, like even in Korea, local community. Usually, traditionally, Koreans are degens, and it was kind of considered to be in a kind of bad way, like accidentally for some projects. But these days, the vibe is changing so much. One evidence is the Hyperliquid community is very big in Korea. And yeah, I was there in one hackathon and there were a lot of people gathering. And unlike before, we are not only trading on centralized exchanges, it's Hyperliquid, derivatives, and Hyper EBM, AMMs, lending, new money markets. So many things are happening. So yeah, just we are witnessing it, and it's a good sign, I think.
All right, Francesco?
Was exactly the question? Is the question around the specific DeFi use case or?
No. So what do you think is moving the needle now to simplify onboarding and make DeFi usable for a broader audience?
Oh yeah, I think we need to provide different kind of like journeys to different type of users, right? We're building right now for a lot of kind of like our own crypto chamber. I think like, simplify onboarding, on-ramp, off-ramp. We're doing a lot of like different stuff. We launched MetaMask card and now is kind of like expanding in different countries so people can kind of like close the loop. MetaMask stablecoin is also very exciting what is happening around that. So there are different kind of like instruments that can be used also with TradFi specific. I don't know if it's getting it. But in order to simplify for newcomers, we need to build abstracted solution, right? Like an example was we unified swap and bridge, the function. And it's very interesting. A lot of people in the community were like, oh, why you're like, I want to know when I'm bridging. I don't know when I'm swapping. All the newcomers, no one complained. Like, you still swap at the end is the same, right? Like you swap from USDC on Arbitrum to a USDC on Base. As a user experience, it should not be a different kind of like, bottom or volume. So this was very interesting. And then I kind of started to realize, we need to start building for the next newcomers, and same with the developer side. We know that the Rust developer are majority of Web2 shipping stuff on production, especially on the agent side. So building also like instruments for developer, they're coming Web3 is super important. So like delegation toolkit, for example, is a very specific delegation framework that is quite used around developer tooling Web2. So this is kind of, those things are super important. And in order to get that, we also need to understand we should not build for our own crypto chamber. There are 22,000 developers by Electric Capital today committing code around for 6 months straight. We need to have a majority of those. Yeah.
Kevin, would you like to add anything from a layer 2 perspective?
Yeah, I maybe adding two cases from my perspective to central exchange case maybe better. From the wallet use cases, OKX wallet is good, and from the overall trading on chain off chain trading experience, Binance Alpha is good for me, and because it just eliminates the barrier for the normal users to get in, and people don't even need to know about what is wallets, what is the other thing. They just use it. This is people want.
All right, last but not least, Ethan.
Yeah, I think something for us that we're seeing that's fastly getting adoption is the use of vaults. So if you have BTC in your wallet and you want to get a yield on it, farming yourselves is very intellectually intense, and then it takes a lot of time as well. So having these like vaults run by asset managers like MEV Capital, Edge Capital, who've been doing this for 5 years, it means that you get access to high yields without having to get the 250k minimum subscription amount. So yeah, I think vaults, one-click access to high Bitcoin yields is going to be the biggest thing within BTC Fi over the next 1-2 years, I'd say.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing everything. I think that there's definitely been a lot of very interesting solutions being made, and hopefully implementing all this will allow for DeFi to be widely accepted around the world. The last topic that keeps on recurring within DeFi is definitely regulation. And, with an industry as nascent as DeFi, it's a topic that never fails to pop up. And as you can tell from 2025 alone, regulation is trying to catch up quickly. So in Europe, Mika and Dora are reshaping compliance expectations. And in Korea, regulators are pushing hard on AML and investor protection. So I'd like to ask all of you to answer this question with just one sentence because we are running out of time. Do you see regulation as a growth catalyst for DeFi? Or do you see it as a constraint that could slow innovation and push builders underground? One sentence, please. Ethan.
It depends. US good, Europe with Mika bad.
Okay, Laurie. Love X?
Yeah, at least in Korea it's needed, especially after Terra Luna accident. So yeah.
I think enablement, right? I think regulation will start to enable much more. But yeah, it's kind of like a sort of chicken egg problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there'll be definitely two worlds: the DeFi world and the centralized CeFi world. And DeFi we have is demand forever.
All right, so it seems as if we really did share a very strong set of insights and lessons. I'd like to wrap up this panel by looking at what will matter most for the next generation of builders. So, looking ahead in 10 years, which part of DeFi today will still matter? Just one word answers.
What was the question again?
Looking ahead in 10 years, which part of DeFi today will still matter?
I think all the core primitives, of course, whatever form DEX's lending markets will take in 10 years, that will never change.
All right. Love X?
I always believe money market will be the best part in 10 years. It will always still be always demand. Yeah.
DeFi and lending, zero around.
Texas.
All right. Okay, I'd like to finish off by asking all of you guys to give one piece of advice to all the aspiring builders out here today. So, should we start from Kevin? What's one piece of advice you'd like to give to the new builders out here?
Do your own research.
Crucial, yes.
I think about building in different ecosystems.
stay away from SEC.
Okay.
I completely agree with Francesco. Go build an ecosystems that care about you and try and do as many hackathons as you can to get your name out there.
That's true. Yes. I mean, you know, a little TMI, but that's exactly what 1inch is trying to reinforce as well to the future hackers out there. Anyways, thank you so much, all of you guys, for sharing everything. It's been very insightful. And I'd like to thank all the audience as well for joining us. I think what we can take away from today's discussion is that DeFi's future won't be defined by hype cycles, but by responsible building. So, protocols that are secure, wallets that are usable, infrastructure that scales, and most of all, frameworks that enable real adoption. With that, please join me in giving our panelists a final round of applause and enjoy the rest of Korean Blockchain Week, everyone.
Thank you.